Let me also start the stream.
All right.
Hey, good evening. It is Friday, April 1st. It's at the top of the hour. And let me also start. If you can hear the sound of my voice, please be so kind as let us know in the chat room. And you are just in time for that show about film and television trivia, Matinee Minutia. So if you are hearing the sound of my voice, you're just in time. And we will give this a few moments while our ushers help some of you find your seats, because there ain't that many of you in the house just yet.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on the live stream. So
okay, do we want to just give it a couple of minutes to see who else shows up?
Oh, it's 9 o'clock sharp, so let's give it just 2 minutes.
Okie dokie.
Then we'll shove off.
Okay. So it's spring, and you know, all of our favorite childhood memories seem to be emerging. And oh, hey, I think I hear our showgirl showing up.
I just got in from the bus. The bus just dropped me off, DJ.
Well, that's a pretty snazzy outfit you got on there. Did you just come straight from Jazzercise class?
Yeah. What do you think? I'm all sweaty.
I think that Gertie has a restraining order from Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, probably. I'm going to try to adjust my volume because Tommy says I'm loud, and I've noticed on the podcast I'm booming. So I don't. Anyways, I don't know if that helped. Did that help, Tommy? Me. Did I go any softer? Did I? Huh? Did I? Huh? Jazzercise.
Louder. Okay, well, Tommy, you know, take your earbuds out of your canals a little bit. They don't need to quite tickle your brainstem.
Jazzercise.
And that makes me want to look for a gift. Jazzercise. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
There you go. God, that was a thing. That was a real thing, wasn't it? Look at that.
Oh my goodness. Yes, DJ, say something. Well, I am saying something. Can you hear me?
La la la. Jazzercise. Oh.
Oh, well, I didn't ask you if my volume changed. I just asked you if you could hear me. So, okay. But yeah, I saw a video in this realm not long ago, and I want to say that it was some sort of a company, I don't know, like a, you know, a pep rally or something.
Right.
But it was like a whole crowd of people decked out in their workout gear. And that thing just, I don't know, it probably could have shut down the internet when you're on dial-up.
God, look at those ladies. Poor Richard Simmons. Oh,
you know, just putting his name into a search engine gets you so many clickbait articles.
Probably. I think it's too bad that he never officially just retired, just did a press release where he said, hey, you know, I've done enough for God and country and fat people everywhere, and I'm just going to retire, and so everyone just have a great life, and that's what I'm going to try to do. But no, he just disappeared.
I want to start an internet rumor just right here tonight that Richard Simmons is alive and well, and he is touring the outback of Canada in an RV, and he is reading children's stories at nursing homes.
Well, okay, I kind of like that. Yeah, kind of like that.
I mean, you know, it's harmless and it's kind and well-intentioned.
Yes.
So, hubby Billy is here.
All right, I think we should just start then.
Okay, we can do that right now. Good evening and welcome to the beautiful historical Marionette Theater. We're going back to the 40s with this next film, back to the era of World War II and the Nazi regime. Oh, and this stars Donald Sutherland. Please take your seats. The show's about to begin. Well, hello, good evening, Mr. Smellie. How are you this fine night?
I'm doing real good. How's about you?
I'm not the worse for wear. I had a little exchange of paint with another driver, but you know, we swapped stories and laughed about it. And
that's never fun. Just please tell me you didn't swap spit.
No, this person wasn't my preferred gender opposite.
I don't know why I said that. That was just that was a stupid thing to say, but
well, we'll fix it in post. And it's April 1st today, so of course, actually, I have a really great April Fool's story. I was in my team meeting at work, and I have this coworker who, they pretend to not get along with our boss, and they must have agreed on this ahead of time, because during the meeting, my coworker pretended to be quitting and saying that today was their last day.
Oh.
And all of us bought it because these two fight like brother and sister. And anyways, after it was said and done, they said, April Fools.
No. See, that's why April Fool's is banned today.
Oh, truly. I think April Fool's really around here is when Gertie shows up early to replace the empties.
Huh, yeah.
Oh, I think I hear her pulling up to the curb now.
I heard the whole thing, and I'm not very happy about being made fun of. By the way, just want you to know I could have been in this movie. Listen, Donald Sutherland could have nestled in my boobies. I certainly am much more ample than Kate Nelligan. That's all I'm going to say. I'll be downstairs when you want me to intro. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.
Wow, there she goes. Okay.
Clean off a few of those glasses, please. We need them later.
Yeah.
Okay, well, is she down there, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Henry is a quiet Englishman who, by day, pals around with his fellow officers. But by night, he's returned to his room at the boarding house. He's a German spy during World War II. And he's just discovered and taken photos of England's greatest offensive secret just days before D-Day. But his cover is blown, and Henry, with the photographs, makes a hasty and dangerous escape from England. The Fuhrer has sent a U-boat to bring him back to Germany with his photographic evidence that will tell Germany where the Allied forces are going to invade. Finally, just when Henry seems just about to reach his U-boat, a storm shipwrecks Henry on a desolate island off the coast of Scotland, the very island that our heroine Lucy resides with her despondent, disabled husband. It is here the two have been convalescing ever since their wedding night, when a terrible, tragic car accident robbed her newlywed husband of the use of his legs. Lucy nurses the shipwrecked stranger back to health. Will her husband find out their guest's secret? Will Lucy fall for the handsome stranger? Will Henry ever be able to make it to his U-boat? Grab a raincoat and your keys. It's time for Eye of the Needle, starring Donald Sutherland and Kate Nelligan. Hit it, boys.
What do you get when you take a dash of the silver screen? A pinch of golden oldies and a smidgen of screaming. It's time for Matinee Minutia with your hosts, DJ and Toppie.
Ooh, April is here, and it's no fool, and we're talking about a romantic thriller tonight, Toppie.
Yeah. Yeah. I recently watched it after seeing it many years ago, and it now appears to me to be kind of even for 1981 to be kind of a throwback to earlier Hollywood thrillers.
Mm-hmm. You know, as I was watching the trailer for this, which we'll get to in a moment, it had that feeling of action there where, you know, if it had been something earlier, closer to the time that this was set, you would have seen words flying across the screen tell you that this was Donald Sutherland and Kate Nelligan.
Yeah. Like the trailers of old did that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of trailers, I guess perhaps we should play that for those listening here.
Give it a go.
Donald Sutherland.
Excuse me?
Kate Nelligan. The bestseller of passion and suspense. Eye of the Needle.
Come in.
Good evening. I'm Henry Baker.
I don't even know what you do.
I'm a writer.
A man with a past he can't reveal.
Very beautiful.
A woman with a future she can't imagine.
Just seen David.
Just now, yes.
Two desperate lovers trying to escape. He with his secret. She with her life.
You see, I'm not going to hurt you, Lucy, I promise. But I am coming in. I have to come in.
When the moment comes, there is only one choice. Eye of the Needle. The Ken Follett bestseller that you couldn't put down is now the movie you won't want to miss. Eye of the Needle.
Ooh. You know, in that trailer there where you saw him at the door breaking the glass, that just gave me not only chills, but it reminded me of the scene in The Shining, which coincidentally was made just the year before this, where he had the axe and, you know, his wife was on the other side of the door.
Yeah, except in this movie, the axe is in the hands of Kate Nelligan.
Spoilers!
Oh, Lordy. Well, it was 1981, so DJ set the world stage. What was going on then?
Hey, the world in 1981. All right. Well, the release of 52 American hostages in Iran was negotiated in 81. And Ronald Reagan was sworn in as the 40th U.S. president. Okay, Hollywood. All right. And Walter Cronkite, well, he signed off of CBS, the Big Brother network, after 19 years on the air.
Wow.
A few other things, importance. In 1981, the Space Shuttle Columbia was the first successful space shuttle launched then. The Los Angeles Centers for Disease Control first reports early cases of what would later become known as AIDS.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I
Sandra,
remember.
Mm-hmm. Now, here we have the first Supreme Court nominee who is a woman, Black person today. And back in 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's taken a while for those wheels of progress. Yeah. Nintendo first released Donkey Kong with Mario at the arcades. Waka waka waka. Mark David Chapman was sentenced to 20 years of prison after murdering John Lennon.
Yeah.
And the first American test tube baby, Elizabeth Jordan Carr, was born in Norfolk, Virginia.
All right.
All right. So
that year saw the celebrity voice Justin Timberlake, Beyonce Knowles, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Alexis Bledel. She's from the Gilmore Girls and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and also Britney Spears, musician and singer and former Disney star, if you can believe it.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Beyonce. You know, the first time I remember seeing her on screen, because she's not only a musician but an actress, was in one of the Austin Powers films where she played Foxy Cleopatra.
So tell us what was competing with Eye of the Needle in the theaters in 1981, DJ.
Alrighty, so Eye of the Needle was a summer release. It came out in July of that year. Now, overall, Eye of the Needle, it probably paid the bills, but it wasn't the top of the box office. Those honors came to the top as that Superman 2 with Christopher Reeves, of course. That was 108 million. And right up behind that was Stripes with Bill Murray at 85.2 million. And then a personal favorite with Burt Reynolds and Roger Moore, Cannonball Run, brought in 72 million.
Wait just 1 minute. This is a personal favorite of yours.
Oh my goodness. The Cannonball Run movies and Smokey and the Bandit. Those were all things that you couldn't resist watching because they put them on infinite reruns on HBO in the 80s.
Gotcha.
So since Eye of the Needle was a summer film, and it wasn't at the top of the box office, I figured I'd mention some honorable mentions of other summer films that came out around this time. So I think I had more than this, but there was a film with Roger Moore that came out. It was one of the Bond films, and it was For Your Eyes Only. I remember, I think everybody remembers most of the opening themes to the Bond films. That's where they always had the big pop star doing the tune.
Yeah. And do you remember who did sing For Your Eyes Only? Who was that?
Goodness.
I can't remember. I can hear it in my head.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm probably going to be wrong when I say Tina Turner, but I'm sure it's not.
No, I don't think so.
I think she did GoldenEye.
She did one of them. But anyways, let's talk about the director of the movie, Richard Alfred Marquande. And he was born in 1937. He passed away in 1987. And he's a Welsh film and television director. He was active in both the USA and UK film productions. He started his career as a director of television projects in the 60s on such as documentaries for the BBC, where he worked on projects like 1972's series Search for the Nile and an edition of One Pair of Eyes in 1968. That was about a novelist, Margaret Drabble, who'd been a friend of his at Cambridge. He collaborated with a celebrated foreign correspondent, James Cameron, in the long-running series called Cameron County for BBC television, and also with John Pilger on a series of films for ITV. So a lot of work in television, a lot of documentaries. In 1979, by now, Marquande incorporated many of his documentary techniques in perhaps one of his best-known television movies, and that was called The Birth of the Beatles. And he also directed several films specifically for children, including something that won an Emmy Award in 1977 called Big Henry and the Polka Dot Kid. His theatrical movie career began with tonight's film, Eye of the Needle, and most famously on the strength of his direction, which got critical acclaim. Marquande was hired by writer-producer George Lucas to direct Return of the Jedi, which maybe is what most people remember him for. And Lucas said that he had done on Eye of the Needle some really great suspense, and he felt he was really good with the actors. And Eye of the Needle really impressed him, and it had a lot of energy and suspense, and that's why Lucas chose him to do Return of the Jedi. And I think maybe one of the other well-known movies Marquande is remembered for is in 1985, he directed a courtroom thriller called Jagged Edge. Anybody remember that? It starred Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close, and it was one of those courtroom dramas where you didn't know the GD truth until the very end. Yes. Oh, and in the chat room, Tommy Ashbrown says Sheena Easton did the movie we were thinking of, For Your Eyes Only, and Tina Turner did GoldenEye.
And I know later on it might have been one of the more recent Daniel Craig 007 movies. I think Madonna finally took a turn at that.
Oh, jeepers! Yeah, I haven't been following him, although I've heard he did a good turn. I guess people say, yeah, good turn is 007.
Yeah, and it's time to pass the baton, allegedly, although we don't know, much like Doctor Who, we don't know who's going to be the next one.
No. I've heard, I don't know if it's a rumor or just talk or whatever, the next Bond might be a female.
I've heard those rumors too. So we're going to go ahead and start our discussion of the fine talent that made up the cast of this film. And of course, the front runner on that is Mr. Donald Sutherland. Now, I'll admit that before this little adventure here at the Marionette, I hadn't seen many of Mr. Sutherland's films. Now, of course, last year, I do believe we watched I'm forgetting the title of
Ordinary People.
Well, we watched that this year. Oh yeah, last year. Okay. But then there was another one as well that I introduced, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It'll come to me. Max Dugan Returns.
That's right. He played he played a minor but important role in that.
And Marsha Mason was in that with him. So anyways, Mr. Donald Sutherland is the star of tonight's film that we're discussing. And he played the character of Henry, who was, of course, the spy. And, to his everyday friends there in the merry old England, he was known as Mr. Faber. But, depending on who you talk to, he could have been Mr. Baker, which is the name he gave his gracious hosts after his tragic accident.
Yes.
But,
yes. And nice Henry would skulk back to his little apartment where he had equipment to signal the Nazis.
Oh, by today's standards, he could have been a podcaster.
Oh, God.
Oh, but getting back to the point, Mr. Sutherland was born in Canada. I once heard him say that Americans confuse him with being English, and English confuse him with being American, but he's Canadian. And after high school, he went to England and studied acting at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. And he had starred in several dozen films prior to the film he did just before Eye of the Needle, which was Ordinary People that we discussed this last year. And Sutherland's film before that was Nothing Personal in 1980, which he did with the Three's Company star Suzanne Summers. Now, a film after that was a film called Gas in 81 with Howie Mandel, of all folks. And that was about rising prices and a series of gas station heists.
Oh, it's a movie that could be done today.
I think so. Whoa. I wonder who they would cast in the remake.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, well, I'm guessing it's not going to be Will Smith anytime soon. Anyways.
Oops.
He is. Most recently, he had a recurring role in the 2020 HBO series called The Undoing.
Oh.
This starred Nicole Kidman and Mr. Hugh Grant.
Wait a minute. Hugh Grant did something recently?
I know. And he actually was in a movie a few years ago with, I want to say, Meryl Streep. And it was about a woman who thought she could sing, and his character was the supportive husband who didn't want to break her heart.
Yes.
Lawrence Foster Jenkins. Yes, that's it.
Yes, there you go. Good line. That I'd like to see that movie because I've heard recordings of the actual singer it's about, and boy, oh boy. Wow.
Voice only mom could love.
Yes.
So this show, The Undoing, with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant, was about a wealthy New York City therapist whose family becomes involved in a murder. Yes, that's a callback to a film we discussed before, Murder by Death. And previously, Donald Sutherland was in a 2018 FX series called Trust, which starred Hilary Swank and Brendan Fraser. And that was about a 70s kidnapping of an heiress to an Italian oil fortune. And most iconically, Sutherland played President Snow in the 2014 and 15 Hunger Games films.
Oh, I hope that's not considered iconic, but okay.
Well, I have not seen them, but in interviews, Donald Sutherland can be very intellectual and politically minded. And he has said that the reason he took on the role in the Hunger Games is because it had a very political message that he hasn't seen in films of recent years. So,
okay.
So maybe there's something to it. But anyways, to date, Sutherland has 199 acting credits. And my favorite memory of Donald Sutherland was, about 15 or so years ago. He was in a short-lived TV series with Gina Davis, who is apparently a member of Mensa. She's a genius, as the nation's first woman president and commander-in-chief.
I vaguely remember that, yeah. Meanwhile, in the chat room, Tommy Hash Brown has linked this movie up with Star Trek. It just happens here, folks, every episode. But Donald Sutherland appeared in a 70s remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers that had Leonard Nimoy in it, hence Star Trek. Although I can also say there was an episode of Voyager that was titled Eye of the Needle. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm. And I think I remember that one, but anyway, so Toppie, our leading lady in the film tonight, she's a lady of a similar background to Mr. Sutherland, Miss Kate Nelligan. Tell us a little about her.
All right. Well, she's awfully appealing in this movie, and she's been very appealing in many other movies. In Eye of the Needle, she plays Lucy Rose, the wife of David. And like Donald Sutherland, she was also born in Canada. And she began acting in television in the 70s. And on both TV and the screen, she established herself eventually as a top-notch and in-demand supporting player and character actress. Eye of the Needle was only her fourth film. Just prior to that, Nelligan starred in Mr. Patman, 1980, with James Coburn, about a male nurse who works the night shift at a psychiatric hospital.
And in the 5 years that would follow, Nelligan would star in only 2 more movies, including the year after with her most recognizable role in the movie Without a Trace in 1983 with Judd Hirsch and Stockard Channing, about an estranged New Yorker who turns to the police when her son goes missing. And then I think maybe the next big event for her was being nominated for an Academy Award as Best Supporting Actress in The Prince of Tides. That was in 1991. Now, there's another side to Katie, and that was her theater roles that brought her great fame in the UK. And in 1980, Nelligan set her eyes on Broadway. And that's where she racked up 4, count them, 4 Tony Award nominations for Best Actress in these following productions: Plenty, 1983, A Moon for the Misbegotten in 1984, Serious Money in 1988, and The Spoils of War in 1989. So that's quite a career in what appear to be, to me, just based on the titles, not knowing a damn thing about them, is they must have been dramatic or perhaps comedy roles, because I sure as heck don't remember the names of any of those productions coming my way. So, but in addition, she performed a lot in her native Canada on television and movies. And her work in Canada has brought her five Gemini Awards, award nominations. Nelligan is now 72. Her latest acting credit was in 2010. 2 guest appearances on Law and Order Special Victims Unit. And to date, she has 59 acting credits.
So I actually watched an interview with Miss Nelligan, and she was such a fixture of theater that in the early 90s there, when Barbra Streisand went to do one of her first directorial films, Prince of Tides, as we just mentioned there, and that was actually her exposure to Kate Nelligan's work. So after Barbra Streisand saw her in the theater, that's when she was moved to cast her in her film, The Prince of Tides.
You know, she has such a soft voice in the things I know her from. Eye of the Needle, she has a very soft voice. It's hard to imagine her projecting on stage on Broadway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this movie could have practically been what they call ASMR these days, where everybody whispers. Really cool. Because, I mean, as accomplished as he is, I was hard-pressed to find an interview with Donald Sutherland where you didn't hear the hum of the mic, because he's a very gentle speaker.
Yeah. Actually, his voice has led to some voice work on a lot of commercials. I can't think of them, but he's the voice behind a lot of commercials.
Oh goodness, Toppie, that jogs a memory. He was the voice of Florida orange juice in my childhood.
Yes, that's right.
So, well, we are at about.
Well, that's better than Anita Bryant being the voice of Florida orange juice. That was my day. In my day, it was Anita Bryant.
Oh, that she got a pie in the face, but
yeah.
I wonder if pie sales improved after that. Oh,
they must have.
That's a thought. So we're about the halfway mark in the show, and we're going to step on over here to a place where we can have some happier memories of orange juice, because they're being served up by our showgirl.
You better believe it.
Hey, all right, make mine a double. So,
okay.
We have a tribute to the work of the director, Mr. Richard Marquande, and this is just a little under 3 minutes. It's a documentary called Wales in Film, the Country of Wales.
Who was Richard Marquande? Well, like a lot of the very best people, Richard was a supporter of Liverpool Football Club, When he was very young, he worked as a newsreader for one of Hong Kong's English language channels. Mostly, Marquande was a director, but also producer and writer, and by the sounds of it, a very enthusiastic Welshman. He started off making documentaries for the BBC and made numerous kids' films before his big break making The Legacy, starring Catherine Ross, Sam Elliott, and Roger Daltrey. Marquande followed this up with a biographical movie titled The Birth of the Beatles, and this was released in cinemas across the whole world apart from the United States, where it premiered on television to mixed reviews. Despite this limited exposure to US audiences, Richard found himself in the director's chair for The Eye of the Needle, released in 1981, an adaptation of a best-selling espionage novel by Ken Follett, who was also born in Cardiff, 12 years after Richard. Before worldwide success as a novelist, Follett had a background in journalism also for the South Wales Echo. Now, given that the Marquandes seem to have been an influential and powerful family in the area of the south of Wales and its capital at that time, it's quite possible that this is somehow how Richard found himself helming this British movie produced by United Artists. I remember catching The Eye of the Needle on TV as a kid. Donald Sutherland's creepy and sinister performance stayed with me for a few days after I saw it, and watching this movie again in preparation for making this essay, it's clear to me that Richard Marquande had a considerable ability in building slow-burning tension and exploiting drama from human relationships. I recommend watching The Eye of the Needle, a best-selling novel adapted into an international movie and directed by Cardiff's most credible, if perhaps not the most celebrated, movie director. What it really demonstrates is Marquande's understanding of filmic tension and the human dynamic. This is probably why Richard then gets the call from one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. Sometime in 1981, George Lucas cherry-picks Richard Marquande, then aged 43, to direct what was perhaps the biggest movie event of all time, Star Wars: The Return of the Jedi. There are, of course, other much-noted reasons why Lucas needed Marquande. He had been ostracized by the Directors Guild of America due to their objections to his use of the opening crawls in both Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. Lucas left the Guild, which is effectively a directors' union, and was therefore unable to hire any member of it to direct his movies. In short, Lucas needed a director not in the union. His original choice was independent director David Lynch, but when Lynch eventually dropped out, feeling the tone and style of the film was inappropriate for his needs, Lucas turned back to Richard Marquande.
Okay. I just want to say, can you imagine David Lynch directing that movie? Oh my goodness. David Lynch did do a science fiction movie, Dune, and it's a little different, let's just say, although it may have been the material and the time it was done. Has nothing whatsoever to do with the recent Dune remake, but David Lynch, what can you say? DJ, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I have another Star Trek tie-in, because if I'm not
mistaken, no,
Dune may have introduced American audiences to the enigma that is Mr. Patrick Stewart before Star Trek.
Possibly. He was in that, wasn't he? He was also in some sort of King Arthur movie that may have been around that time. I think that's the first movie I saw him. I don't remember what this movie was, but it was a sword and sorcery kind of thing or something. Anyways, we've got one last main character in Eye of the Needle, and that's the husband. What do you know? What do we know about him, David?
Okay, so the husband, she was in the army and there was a terrible accident. Was that even 15 minutes into the movie, Toppie?
Well, it did sort of, it was at the beginning. And the thing that's important, that they showed in one of the few scenes during their wedding day is that as they're driving away to their honeymoon, it's suggested that their wedding night will not be the first time they've ever had sex, which is a good thing because there's a little kid in the movie that we find later on. And we also know that they never made it to their wedding night because of the car accident, and they never did have a chance to conceive. So we know the baby came sometime before, or the baby was the inception was before that happened. Anyways, what do we know about this actor?
Remind me about the little boy later. So I knew everything was going downhill as soon as I saw him ask his bride to reach for the bottle of bubbly that was in the car.
Yeah.
So Mr. Christopher Casanova, I want to say Casanova, but it's Casanova, played David, the husband, and he was born in Winchester, Hampshire, England. So he was the real deal. He was not the fake England that Donald Sutherland and Kate Nelligan were. He was the real, born in England, a countryman. He began acting on television in the early 70s. Eye of the Needle was actually his 5th film. Now, just prior, he'd starred in a film in 79 that starred Mr. Burt Lancaster and, believe it or not, Mr. Bob Hoskins, film called Zulu John, about British military operations in Africa. And his film after Eye of the Needle was called From a Far Country. This also came out in 81, and it was about Pope John Paul II. It was done by a Polish director. Casanova would star in 5 films over the next 5 years. So he got one a year, paid the bills. And in 86, he was cast in the role of Mr. Ben Carrington, the brother on Dynasty.
Wow, I have no memory of that.
That's probably because it was only one season. He got killed off, I think. Like everyone on a soap, right? He was exploring his options. After which Casanova would continue to average a film a year over the next 5 years, including a supporting role in a little film with Mr. Tom Selleck, Mr. Ted Danson, and Steve Guttenberg. It was a sequel, 3 Men and a Little Lady. Yeah, that was in 1990.
Oh no, another Star Trek connection. I think that was directed by Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, I think you're right. And there's an urban myth or legend or something of that nature that if you pause certain scenes in the first movie, 3 Men and a Baby, that you can see a ghost. And I think it might just be, an overexposed reel of film or something, but they say that there is a spirit of a child who was haunting the set that they were filming at.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I haven't heard that one, but why not?
So we got a little bit of side knowledge here, Mr. Casanova. Now, of course, it should be noted that of the cast members of Eye of the Needle, Mr. Casanova is no longer with us. He passed away in 2010 at the age of 66, which it should be noted also that the director of this film had an untimely passing. I believe that he was just days from his 50th birthday at the time.
Yeah, passed early, way too early.
So in 73, the BBC did a documentary called The British Hero.
All right, now this is very confusing. So yes. Go on, but
this is Mr. Casanova's claim to fame amongst his countrymen. Everybody has their favorite actor that played 007, and that's your Mr. Bond, the era that you saw the films. Well, Mr. Casanova starred in a documentary by the BBC in 73 called The British Hero, and this explored various fictional protagonists from the United Kingdom. Now, the documentary was made of reimagined and refilmed scenes from stories throughout history. And Mr. Casanova played each of the heroes, but undoubtedly most of the famous subjects of this documentary were of the James Bond character.
Right.
And Casanova became 007 in newly shot scenes depicting moments in Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever.
Now, presumably, they did this because they couldn't get the rights to play the actual scenes. I guess.
Yes, an homage because the royalties, they were a pretty penny. And while Casanova's role as Bond is incredibly brief and only takes place in the context of the documentary, his portrayal did leave a lasting impression amongst fans, and the scene strove to be faithful to Ian Fleming's version of Bond. So, aka like how Casino Royale really wasn't a Bond film originally, but in more recent years, they made a Bond film version of that story.
Okay.
So,
strange enough. Although seeing him in Eye of the Needle and picturing him, I could certainly see him being a Bond. Absolutely.
And now, Mr. Casanova was a theater actor as well, and on stage he starred as Henry Higgins, Professor Higgins, in both the British and American productions of My Fair Lady, 2005 and 2008. Now, here's just a little bit of background on Mr. Casanova's untimely passing. Much like the director of the film, his son suffered a similar fate. He was killed in a car accident. Now, his oldest son, and while driving to pick up books from Cambridge University, he had just been awarded a master's degree in philosophy. This is the son. And sources close to the actor said that he never got over his son's death and started drinking heavily at that time. So hence his passing at the tender age of 66.
Oh, that's too bad. So Eye of the Needle. I first saw this, I think I rented a VHS tape a long time ago and really liked it. Saw it for the second time only a few nights ago. And as I said before, was really surprised in how much like an old movie from the golden age of Hollywood thrillers. Like it felt like it could have been made in the late 40s, early 50s. That's how it felt. The whole thing felt like, including the very luscious movie score, was really old time Hollywood.
Oh yeah, you don't have many films unless they're like a major summer film or what have you, where it's got an instrumental score these days. A lot of films, they just fill it up with pop music.
Yeah. So that surprised me because I don't remember it feeling like that before. And DJ, I got to ask you right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Recall the scene where David, the husband, has discovered the film canister in the pocket of Henry, the spy. And outside, when his wife isn't around, he pulls a shotgun on Henry and says, "Okay, what's the deal? Who are you? And what's going on?" This eventually, in short order, leads to a deadly physical struggle between the two of them. And it happens on a cliffside. DJ, who were you rooting for?
Oh. Well, this is one of those moments where I had to pause the film only to have in mind how much was left, because I was thinking to myself, well, if I'm gonna root for the guy in the wheelchair, I don't know where the story's gonna go, because the villain is got to make it through. That's what makes it a thriller. But I kind of thought that David was gonna at least get one over on him, because okay, sure, he doesn't have the use of his legs, but as a lot of us have come to understand, when we lose certain abilities, your others become more developed. So he could have squished his head off his neck like a cantaloupe.
Well, yeah, Henry was certainly held in an arm lock by David, and he was close to passing out. So yeah, his David's upper body strength, had been kept up. So I found myself bouncing back and forth because, first of all, the beginning of the movie is very much about Henry, and even though he's clearly a villain and he's working with the Nazis and he's a killer. I mean, we see him dispatch easily a number of people that might have exposed him otherwise, and he does it with, I don't know what that weapon is called, but it's not a dagger, but it's a knife of some sort that
it's his namesake, really, the needle.
Yeah. Anyways, so because the director is so skillful, because the movie is about him, you kind of are you're a little bit rooting for him. You kind of want him to get away from England and escape their clutches. And even there in the cliffside struggle with poor David, I found myself, I found myself rooting for Donald Sutherland, the Nazi spy, even though, David isn't exactly portrayed sympathetically, but he is an Englishman full of patriotism. He was gonna go into the Air Force, the British Air Force, I believe, or at least the Army or something. And he was all about defending England. I mean, that was right after his honeymoon. That's what he was gonna do. And so you can't help but think, well, this is a noble man. Anyways, it just strikes me as really interesting the way the movie caught you. Are you gonna, I'm making you want to root for the villain. and I kind of did. So that was a great moment in the movie, this cliffside struggle.
Although, I kind of wanted David to survive, only because I was sort of expecting for him to drag the affair out, because of course you have this poor wife whose husband has given up on life just simply because he's not the man that she married, technically. He's feeling sorry for himself. And this is not the 21st century, even the 20th century, but really it's 1940 something. And, America hasn't had a president in a wheelchair yet. So, we think differently of people. But here, the wife, Lucy, has an opportunity to maybe have some attention paid to her, and the handsome stranger comes through her, pardon the term, her Hamlet. And there's an opportunity there. But I kind of wanted David to survive the struggle, only to see how the revenge might have played out. Oh, I caught you, my lovely. You were going to run off with this man.
Yeah. Tommy Ashbrown's just said something interesting to me. He says that this movie feels really Hitchcockian for him. And I also felt that way and couldn't help this last time viewing it. Marquande did a great job, but I could not help but feel like this would have been a project that Hitchcock would have excelled in. And, well, done even better. Because this really is Hitchcock material. Now, Hitchcock at the time, I think, was still alive, but at the very nearly the end of his life. And although Hitchcock would never have said or claimed he retired, he was moving very, very slowly. And he was working on projects up until his death. But I really feel like if this movie had, the book had been written sooner, he would have glommed onto this. I really feel that way. This would have been a hell of a Hitchcock movie.
And watching it, I get vibes of, some like a low budget horror movie, only because since he's a spy, he's basically, a mercenary for hire. And at one point, you kind of wonder how long his opposition is going to last in any scene that he shares with him, because it's like a drinking game. Oh, he's up, another one, take a shot.
Yeah.
But I going back to the child, Toppie.
That's another thing, because Tommy Hashfriends also said, or somebody did, that the kid creeped him out.
Okay, so everybody, if you haven't caught The Eye of the Needle yet, it is available to watch for free on Tubi, Tubi.
Oh, I think it just left. It
may have, but keep an eye out. You might be able to see it again. But yes, well, sometimes child actors are not quite comfortable with speaking parts, and sometimes they have speech impediments. I don't know, but the child's voice in The Eye of the Needle is very clearly dubbed,
yes,
by an adult pretending to be a child.
I also felt keenly that it was dubbed, and that is why the kid is creepy. It's his voice. But you know what? It didn't occur to me that it was an adult trying to be a kid. But you know what? I think that's exactly what it was.
And Toppie, just watching that scene makes me think the child's possessed. And because of the visual of the door and the axe, I almost felt like he was going to be saying red rum.
Yeah. Hey, well, that's another thing. Kate Nelligan as the mother, Lucy, after she's learned that the woman she's been fornicating with is a Nazi spy, she starts to plot how she's going to get away. And one of the things she has to do is keep her kid quiet during the rescue. And so he drugs the kid. He gives the kid the same medicine that David takes. And there's a bit of foreshadowing in one scene where David says, "Give me 2 pills. I want to sleep tonight." So we know these whatever medicine he's taking can induce sleepiness. And she grinds up a pill and puts it into milk and gives it to her kid to drink. Why didn't she just poison Donald Sutherland?
I have to wonder that too, because in that scene, she excused herself from the bedroom where they were making love. And you thought to yourself, okay, the gears are turning in her head. So she's clearly got a plan here. And I thought that same thing. Now, of course, I also have to admit that it wasn't until the second time that I watched the film that it was more clear to me what her motivation was in the scene, because it is very fleeting, that moment where she's got the bottle of pills and her husband asked for 2 because, of course, as you say, he wants to sleep tonight. So when she goes to put the medicine in her kid's milk, I thought to myself, and this is just the mind of somebody who is married to someone who likes horror movies.
Yes.
I was thinking that she was sparing the child from a life of misery under the thumb of the German thugs. I thought that she was helping your kid go nighty-night permanently.
Oh, did you really?
Oh,
I mean,
think of it. How else is she gonna leave, leaving the night quickly? Now she's got baggage.
Well, I guess so. I do have to say, however much I possibly may have and was sort of rooting for Henry, Donald Sutherland in the cliffside struggle, it very interesting. You are quickly induced to switch sides again to Kate Nelligan when it comes down to her final 15 minutes in the movie and her struggle with Henry. And clearly, I mean, at that point, I'm totally rooting for her. And I rather like this switching over that clearly was intentional. Finally, having to see Donald Sutherland as a rather desperate villain, especially by the time his fingers are cut off. He's almost done by that point.
And there's that touching scene towards the end. Of course, it's kind of a spoiler, but they've gotten to a point where he says to her, he's like, this is what the war has become. It's down to us.
Yes. That line is the essence of the whole movie, the entire war, because he's got the secret for the D-Day invasion. And he says the entire war has come down to us. And he's speaking of their romance, really, because I don't think he was playing her. I think he was really falling in love with her and she with him, in spite of himself. I think that's the way I see it anyways. And yeah, that line, the war has come down to us, which is absolutely the essence of the whole movie. Brilliant. That's all I could say. Brilliant.
And, it should be noted that for those of you who are of a delicate condition, there are some scenes in the film that they don't really play a part in the story. It's like, okay, it's bathtub time. Did I really need to see that much of her body? This is why this film got an R rating.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it certainly could have been done without boob shots. It could have easily been done without boob shots, but it wasn't.
I just have to ask, perhaps the cisgendered women of the world, why would you have gone to the movies in this time frame? Because you really had nothing to be offered. I mean, except maybe if you went and saw a certain movie with Richard Gere when he was playing a gigolo.
Okay, I need you to clarify. What do you mean that movies had nothing to offer women as far as naked males? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, the Hollywood machine is just, at this time at least, it was all run by men, and so of course you got nothing of the male anatomy. It was always a tease of something female.
Yes,
most you could hope for would be a shirtless guy in a movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and let's face it. We did not see Donald Sutherland's body the way we saw Kate Nelligan's.
Those pajama bottoms came on really quickly. Oh, so Toppie, we are almost at the end of our hour, and we've made our way out here to the lobby. So we're going to talk about a segment we call our snack tray. These are things that you might enjoy if you liked Eye of the Needle or films similar to this. So I'll go first. Now, this is not a film that I have seen, but I am inclined to see it. It is set during the World War II time frame. This is a film from 1964 with our beloved James Garner and Eve Marie Saint in 1964, a film called 36 Hours. And the story is Germans kidnap an American major and try to convince him that World War II is over so that they can get details about the Allied invasion of Europe out of him.
I'm just curious. I mean, it sounds kind of like a suspense movie, but it also sounds like it could be a bit of a comedy. Do you know?
I don't think it was comedy, no.
Okay. So my selection is, if you liked Eye of the Needle, then you would like another movie that we've already mentioned by Richard Marquande, and that is Jagged Edge in 1985. It was a critical and box office success. It was an American neo-noir legal thriller, and it starred Glenn Close and Jeff Bridges and Robert Loggia, who won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in the movie. In the Jagged Edge, a lawyer, Close, reluctantly takes a case of a man accused of killing his wife, Bridges, but remains uncertain if he's guilty or not. And then you find out at the very end. So another really good taut thriller, not unlike Eye of the Needle.
Okay, so before we go ahead and figure out what is coming up next here, take a peek over the balcony for me and let me know who joined us in our chat room tonight.
Yes, indeed. We're very, very happy and thankful to have had here in the chat room with us. And by the way, we do this live, and you can be in the chat room and experience this live with us every first and third Friday of the month, like clockwork. But here tonight is your hubby, Billy. We have Cronehaven, the ever mysterious. We have Maren Gertz. And we have our old buddy pal, Tommy Hash Browns. Thanks for being here, one and all. It makes a difference when you're here. Thank you.
Okay, so we're here in the lobby, and the Marionette Theater is a historical building. Many things happened here in the past. We had vaudeville.
Oh, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention V Money.
Oh.
V Money 7707 is also here.
Okay. So all those things I said about the building, and a magician was once here, left a few things behind, including this bag of coins. Toppie, reach up on that shelf for me, if you would, please.
All right, let me fondle that bag. There you go.
Okay, and actually, momentito, por favor. I've lost something here.
Oh, I don't believe it.
Gertie, where'd you move gumball machine?
I don't know. Find it yourself, god damn it.
Oh, it's over here.
Okay.
Okay, would you open that up for me, sir?
All right, here you go. It's a capsule, and let me open it. What does it say, DJ?
All righty, so this is a late 90s comedy, drama, and a musical.
All of the above?
Yes, sirree. Haven't had a musical in a while. It's about a shy, reclusive young woman who's haunted by her father's untimely passing. Through her love, she embraces the music that he enjoyed. Before long, she encounters one of her mother's acquaintances, who's a talent agent, and she begins to find her voice. This stars Jane Horrocks from the British comedy Absolutely Fabulous in Little Voice. Next time on Matinee Minutia, Friday, April 15th.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to look forward to that because I have not seen it.
Okay, well, sir, it was a nice evening here, the beginning of spring. Nothing but good things to look forward to. So if you would, please, in the ways of the old days of radio, say good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Okay, let me cue this up here.
No, he wasn't ready for this one either.
Matinee Minutia.
Our show streams live on the first and third Friday of the month.
Go to univazpods.net, click the tower for streaming audio. Enter Discord for our chat room.
You can find our show anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Find us on Twitter at Matinee Minutia.
Find our group on Facebook.
Or visit our webpage at matineeminutia.com.
Have an idea for a show? Or why not let us know how we're doing?
Email us at matineeminutia@gmail.com.
This has been an Ollybug production.
Show's gone wild with Matt and Tom.
Speak up.
The Smellcast by Toppie Smellie.
Be heard.
Tastes like burning with Tim and James.
Unique voices in podcasting.
The Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti.
univazpods.net. And for those of you still listening on the stream, I'm going to treat you with some of the soundtrack to Little Voice. This is Jane Horrocks performing It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing.
Oh, play it.
What good is melody? What good is music if it ain't possessing something sweet?
This runs about 5 minutes, folks.
It ain't the melody. It ain't the music. There's something else that makes that tune complete. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing, all you got to do is swing.
I'm chair dancing.
Makes no difference.
See it live on YouTube.
Just get the rhythm.
There he is, folks.
You got. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Do-ah, 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 do-ah.
It goes on for a while, so I'll cut it off halfway here. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay,